Hey, how's it going? It's Sam Frost here, back with some more digital marketing advice. Now today I want to talk about the importance of really being aware of where your traffic comes from and how you would react if some of that was taken away. Now, I've talked about it before on the side of my main business. I run a number of websites, and some of them are more successful than others. They're great testing grounds for seeing what works and what doesn't. Now, one of these websites I've been building up over the last few years, sort of just grown completely organically, traffic-wise, haven't really done too much beyond on-page SEO. Started building up the site, doing quite nicely after a couple of years, and then all of a sudden, pretty much as quickly as I got a good gain in traffic, it all started to come tumbling back down again. And digging into the analytics, looking at what's happened, looking at my search rankings, pretty much I was able to work out that most of the traffic I was getting to the site was coming from one keyword. So one keyword, one article ranking for that keyword, right up the top of Google, and it just started slipping. You know, first of all the article slipped to number 2, then it slipped to I think number 3 or 4, and it just kept dropping and dropping until it actually fell off the first page of Google altogether. And basically my traffic was just slashed. I think the site went from about 10,000 visitors a month to, you know, be lucky to get 1,000 at the moment, and that's in a relatively short space of time. So basically a huge reduction in traffic to the website, a huge reduction in the commercial value of that site. Now, if that was your real business, if that was your only business, that could be pretty devastating. It could be pretty catastrophic. So what you have to be aware of is if your business is too dependent on one particular keyword or a couple of particular keywords or one particular traffic source, you need to be aware of this. You know, to criticize myself, I didn't spend enough time looking at this when I was working on the site. What I did was I just started writing about articles or writing articles about topics people were searching. You know, traffic started growing. I went in with too much of an assumption that it was, you know, a sort of broad base of traffic building up, and it wasn't until after the fact that I realized that most of what was happening was just from one keyword. I really was a bit too on autopilot or cruise mode with this particular site. Now I've been putting steps in place to fix this. I really kicked into overdrive with more content, you know, better SEO practices, more link building, all that sort of stuff, and I've started to see my article climb back up and the traffic started growing again. But the moral of the story is you've got to be aware of this, and then once you're aware of these potential weaknesses, these Achilles heel that you have on your website when it comes to generating traffic and sales, then you can start to prepare for them. Had I prepared earlier and had I known that this particular article drove so much of the traffic, had I actually paid better attention, I could have started planning for, hey, how am I going to prevent my website from slipping from number 1? I'm going to start building more links to this article. I'm going to internally link to it. I'm going to make sure the content's really as good as it can be. I'm going to start trying to find other keywords that, you know, could support as well. But because I left it until after the fact, I was sat there scratching my head, and that's not an uncommon scenario I encounter with clients as well. They come to me and say, hey, look, we were doing really well, now we're doing poorly. What went wrong? You want to be able to predict what's likely to go wrong so that you can hopefully try and mitigate the risk of that happening. So yeah, if you're sitting there with a website that's chugging along nicely, maybe it's growing well, make sure you understand what is contributing and whether you've got too many eggs in one particular basket. And if you do, start planning for how you're going to actually mitigate the risk of that. You don't want to drop that basket, smash all those eggs, and find out your business gets wiped out overnight, because it can happen. It's happened to me. You know, it's happened to me more than one time in the past with other projects I've worked on as well. You know, it's happened to big businesses, small businesses, all over the show. Do not become too dependent on one thing without having a good path to reduce the risk and basically be able to get away from disaster if it does strike. So yeah, hopefully you found that helpful. If you're wanting any more advice, just leave a comment below. You feel free to send me an email as well, info@samfrost.co.nz. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.